Lesson 10.3, solving quadratic equations. I'm not sure if it's going to be 1 or 2 videos. Let's see how long it takes. The objectives of today's lesson is to solve quadratic equations by graphing and to solve quadratic equations using square roots. Vocabulary. A quadratic equation is an equation that can be written in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a does not equal 0. This form is called the standard form of a quadratic equation. The solutions of a quadratic equation and the related x-intercepts are often called roots of the equation or zeros of the function. So we're going to go over 2 ways of doing this. We're going to solve it by graphing them, and then we're going to solve them by just using square roots. On example 1, they are only going to give you the first part of the equations that are on there. You're not going to get the ones that say y equals anything. So to solve this, to start your graph, when you don't have when you have y equals x squared plus bx plus c, you're going to have a lot of graphing to do. But as you can tell on A, you do not have this part. You only have y equals x squared plus c. So what you're going to do to start the vertex, you're going to start with 0 and then the c number. And if you can, as you can tell, you always start with 0. So we're doing our vertex. You have 0. And then my c number is -4. And that's where you're going to start your graph off at. So you're going to start at 0, -4, and put a point. That's step 1. Step 2, get x by itself, or solve for x. That's a better way of saying it. Solve for x. For x. So I have x squared minus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. X squared equals 4. Now I needed to solve for x, so I need to get rid of the square. So I'm going to square root both sides. And so x equals a positive and a -2, because 2 times 2 is 4, and -2 times -2 is 4. So now, because of this, you are going to put your points on both the positive and the -2 on your x-axis, and you're going to graph it. Now, we're finding a solution. So there are 2 solutions on your x-axis. We're trying to find out how many points hits the x-axis. So how many points hits the x-axis? Well, there are 2 solutions, and they are positive and -2. And there's your answer. So let's look at B. You start with 0. Again, you always start with 0 for your x. And what number is after x squared on this one? Well, there's nothing, so it must be 0. So we're going to start with 0, 0. And we need to get x by itself, so I'm going to take x squared equals 0 and square root them. Well, there's nothing. So since it's a positive number, I'm going to just graph it up. I'm not worried what it looks like. It's a positive number in front of x squared, so the parabola is going to go up. And then how many times does it hit the x-axis? It hits it, there's one solution because it only hits it once. So there's one solution. And that is 0. All right, next one. So you're going to have it at 0. And then your C is 4, positive 4. And it's positive 4. Now I'm going to get x squared by itself, x by itself, and solve for it. So I have x squared plus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4 to both sides. X squared equals negative 4. Square root it. Well, that's a problem because you cannot square root a negative number. And then we're going to graph it. Well, it's again a positive number in front of the x squared, so I'm just going to make it go up. And since it did not hit the x-axis anywhere, there's no solution. And that's how you do this one. Now we're going to try it on without graphing. It says solve each equation by finding the square roots. If the equation has no solution, write no solution. It's the same idea, except this time you don't have to graph it. So I'm going to get G. I need to solve for G on this one. So I'm going to subtract 32 to both sides. So 2G squared equals negative 32. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. G squared equals negative 16. Well, there's a negative inside the square root, so that would be no solution. And there's your answer. B, I did incorrectly. I wrote it wrong. I need you, instead of it being a 12, I need you to make that a 12. A 0, I need you to make that a 12. And now we can get it by, we want to get n by a solve for n. So I'm going to subtract 12 to both sides. So it's 3n squared equals 0. Divide by 3. N squared equals 0. And then I'm going to square root because I need to find out n. And so n equals 0. And there's your answer. C. I'm going to add 25 to both sides. T squared equals 25. Square root. T equals 5. T equals 5. I'm going to add 98 to both sides. So I have 2x squared equals 98. Divide by 2. That equals 49. That's a perfect square. So x equals positive or negative 7. Oh, I forgot something on C. I forgot the positive and negative. There's two answers to it. Okay, on your homework, you are going to have some that aren't perfect square roots. So if it's like x squared equals 39, and you have to square root it, please do not find out the decimal form. Just leave it square root of 39 plus or minus, I believe. Yep, plus or minus the square root of 39. So if it's not a perfect square, do not find out the decimal form of it. Just leave it in square root form. All right. Example 3. It's a little different. There's some equations that you need to do. Model each problem with a quadratic equation, then solve. If necessary, round to the nearest tenth. A city is planning a circular duck pond for a new park. The depth will be 4 feet, so that's an important thing for you to remember. 4 feet is your height. And the volume will be 20,000 feet cubed. And what we're trying to find out is the radius to the nearest tenth. Aren't they nice though? They gave you the formula. V equals pi r squared h. And we're trying to find the radius. So volume equals 20,000. Do not put the feet squared. Do not cube anything. Don't do anything. Just leave it 20,000. And then you're going to do pi r squared. And then the height of the pond is 4. Okay, we want to find out radius. So we want to get r by itself. So both the pi and the 4 are multiplying to r squared. So we're going to divide both sides by pi 4. By pi 4. So you have 20,000 equals pi 4. Do not answer, don't do the math for it yet on your calculator. We have r squared. And then we're going to square root both sides. Now, on your calculator, you are going to put parentheses. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your square root sign, and then you're going to put parentheses, and you're going to go 20,000 divided by 4 pi, and do the pi sign, not 3.14. Do the pi sign. You have it on your calculator somewhere. And then a parenthesis, and then make it equal. And we're rounding it to the nearest tenth. So r is about 39.9 feet. We're uncubing everything, so it's just feet. There's your answer. Now you have square. You need to know your formula for squares. And the formula for a square is a equals s squared. And it says you have the area of 169 feet. So you're going to plug that in for a because they gave you the area. You're just trying to find the side. So you're going to go 169 equals s squared. And then you're going to square root both sides. And your answer will be a plus or negative 13. Now, tell me something. Can you have a negative side of a square? No, you cannot. So your answer will be for this one, 13. So you will always stay with the positive of the two. Also in your homework, you need to know the formula for a circle. So area of a circle is pi a equals pi r squared. All right, there is all the stuff you need to know for your homework tomorrow. Bye.